Doing on time. "18 people are dead and 13 are injured after a mass shooting in Lewiston, Maine last night. Thank you for watching Franciscan Beat News. I'm Thomas Payer. A man opened fire at a bowling alley and restaurant in Lewiston, Maine around 7 p.m. last night before he fled, sparking a massive search by hundreds of officers, while frightened residents remain locked in their homes today under a shelter-in-place advisory. Maine Governor Janet Mills says the shooting suspect, Robert Card, is considered armed and dangerous and warns people not to approach him. Card is a firearms instructor believed to be in the U.S. Army Reserve and is assigned to a training facility in Saco, Maine. A police bulletin says Card had been committed to a mental health facility for 2 weeks over the summer, but it did not provide details about his treatment or condition. Card had reported hearing voices and threats to shoot up the military base. Franciscan University joined with the Philos Project to host a joint conference called Nostra Aetate and the Future of Catholic-Jewish Relations at a time of rising anti-Semitism. The event marks the 5-year anniversary of the Pittsburgh synagogue shooting, as well as the renewed significance of the Second Vatican Council's declaration on the relation of the Catholic Church to non-Christian religions. The university had planned this event months prior to the October 7th attack in Israel and the outbreak of war that followed. Following the Hamas attacks, the war has the potential to fuel irrational prejudices and the blaming of a particular group, furthering the spread of anti-Semitism. We also want to remind you that Pope Francis has designated tomorrow as a special day of prayer and fasting for peace in the Holy Land. Channel 9 reports that the Steubenville City Council has passed an ordinance that will help advance the Sunset Boulevard's resurfacing project. City engineer Mike Dolak said News 9 that the project, which isn't expected to begin until 2025, will take place on Sunset Boulevard, from roughly around Welday Avenue almost all the way out to Lover's Lane. The project is expected to cost $1.6 million. Of that, the state and federal government will contribute approximately $1.5 million. The city of Steubenville will complete its funding from its street fund. 60 years after the onset of Beatlemania, with two of the quartet now dead, artificial intelligence has enabled the release of what is promised to be the last new Beatles song. The track, called Now and Then, will be available next Thursday as part of a single paired with Love Me Do, the very first Beatles single that came out in 1962. Now and Then comes from the same batch of unreleased demos written by the late John Lennon, which were taken by his former bandmates to construct the songs Free as a Bird and Real Love, published in the mid-1990s. Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, and George Harrison worked on Now and Then in the same sessions, but technological limitations stood in the way. Now, with the help of artificial intelligence, director Peter Jackson cleared those problems up by separating Lennon's original vocals from a piano used in the late 1970s. The much clearer vocals allowed McCartney and Starr to complete the track last year. The survivors packed plenty into it. The new single contains guitar tracks that Harrison had recorded nearly 3 decades ago, a new drum track by Starr with McCartney's bass, piano, and a slide guitar solo that he added as a tribute to Harrison, who died in 2001. China launched its youngest ever crew for its orbiting space station as it seeks to put astronauts on the moon before 2030. The Shenzhou 17 spacecraft lifted off from the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center on the edge of the Gobi Desert in northwest China, atop a Long March 2F rocket late last night. According to the China Manned Space Agency, the average age of the 3-member crew is the youngest since the launch of the space station construction mission. According to state media China Daily, their average age is 38. Beijing is pursuing plans to place astronauts on the moon before the end of the decade, amid a rivalry with the U.S. for reaching new milestones in outer space. This reflects the competition for influence between the world's 2 largest economies in the technology, military, and diplomatic fields. Democratic Representative Jamal Bowman was charged yesterday with a misdemeanor for triggering a fire alarm as lawmakers scrambled to pass a funding bill before a government shutdown deadline in September. He is expected to plead guilty, formally apologize, and pay a $1,000 fine. The false fire alarm charge would then be dropped if he successfully completes 3 months of probation. The alarm forced the evacuation of a House office building for over an hour. The New York lawmaker has acknowledged pulling the alarm and said it was a mistake. He was allegedly in a rush to go to vote, tried to go through a door that was unexpectedly closed, and wrongly thought pulling the fire alarm lever would help him open it. At the time of the evacuation, House Democrats were working to delay a vote on a funding bill to keep federal agencies open. They had said they needed time to review a bill that Republicans abruptly released to avoid a shutdown. The funding package was ultimately approved, with most Republicans and almost all Democrats, including Bowman, supporting the bill. Republicans criticized Bowman after the alarm and on Wednesday introduced a motion to censure him. Representative Brian Steele, the chairman of the Committee on House Administration, referred the case to Capitol Police, calling Bowman's explanation an excuse. Finally, as All Saints break begins tomorrow, Franciscan Beat will be off the air until next Thursday. In addition, Christ the King Chapel's schedule will look a little different over the break. Tomorrow's 6:30 a.m. and 4:45 p.m. masses, along with evening confessions, are canceled. Over the weekend, there will only be 10 a.m. masses for Saturday and Sunday. Monday and Tuesday will only have 12:05 p.m. masses, with Tuesday evening confessions and praise being canceled. Wednesday is the Solemnity of All Saints and the last day of the break. Masses will be held at 10 a.m., 12 noon, and 8 p.m. Confessions that evening are also canceled. The chapel will resume its normal schedule along with classes and Franciscan Beat News on Thursday. We hope you enjoy your break and the Solemnity of All Saints. I'm Thomas Pear, and I'll see you next week. Good night, and God bless.